Hey, Chris Lipe here. I'm doing this video as a direct result of several questions I've gotten on YouTube about airflow management. What is airflow management? Is it just proper diaphragmatic support? Is it using compression the right way? Well, I will say both, and not just either one of those things. But it's more than that. Proper airflow management requires intense introspection when it comes to how we're using our support muscles, what we're wanting to communicate musically, and how we're interpreting the resonance that we feel and put out. I'm going to unpack that in this video. But before I tie all these things together and give you an exercise to help you discover how proper airflow management should feel, if you don't have the basic concepts of breath support and you don't understand compression, do two things. First, go join my free vocal course linked below and check out my video here on YouTube about compression. Both of those resources are going to give you a good groundwork for managing your airflow with what I'm about to share with you. Okay, so with airflow, one of the most common misconceptions that people have when they start working with their diaphragm, when they start working with breath support, is that they think that they always need to be exerting at the same level. You know, they sing like this, la 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 la, they got one level all the time, one level all the time. And actually, when I'm singing loud like that and I'm just sort of vomiting like that, I'm not really using that much push. As a matter of fact, I was tensing my throat a little bit. My focus wasn't on my diaphragm. It wasn't on my support muscles. And I'm aiming down here purposefully. We want to start when we're dialing in our airflow by thinking downward with our support muscles. Yeah, our poop muscles, right? We want to be flexed with our lower abdomen. That has the side effect of pushing air up. Hey, 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 and then the sound I just made, like that, when I am pushing downward and doing this, like I'm lifting something heavy, I am closing off the area above my vocal folds to hold back air. That's called compression. So we have downward focused energy with our abdominal muscles, even as we're talking quietly. Even as we're talking quietly, I'm still bearing down, and then I am letting the air come up, and then there's this little compression thing, which we're putting a pin in for right now. But notice, even as I'm talking quietly, I'm still flexing my abdominal muscles and bearing down. Now, as I get louder, the sensation, the amount of intensity in my lower abdominal muscles does not change. It doesn't. And it shouldn't. I might say that's ridiculous. When I'm singing really quietly, I have my abdominal muscles flexed. I would burn out my abdominal muscles. I'm talking about a mindset thing here as we're learning to dial in proper support, and we're learning how to let all of this work together from an introspective perspective. So stay with me now as we keep our lower abdominals flexed. Now, as we go quietly and as we sing quietly, hey, hey, as we go to head resonance, and I'm still bearing down. By focusing on the sensation of bearing down, I am, by default, and as a wonderful side effect, I am taking tension away from my neck and my chest area because I'm focusing my energy in the right place. More on this in my free vocal course. But this is very important. You can't properly manage airflow until you do two things. You're properly supported with this bearing down perspective, and you disconnect the idea of getting louder means I need to push more. Now, as I've got my lower abdominals flexed and I start getting louder, what happens? There's this transference of energy where you feel as if, even though you've got things flexed in terms of bearing down, think about it as the energy does move up slightly into your lower chest cavity. It's still not focused around my neck area, though. So we want the sensation of it moving. Like that. Next, we're going to bring in this compression idea, where we're holding back air here above our vocal cords. Like that. So, that actually sounds kind of cool. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you can hear that compression in addition to this sensation of my energy moving from here to here. The compression is helping me moderate airflow as well. Let's now have a special focus on dynamics. And here's the exercise that's going to help you really connect this whole area, because you're going to have to make decisions about what you're doing dynamically while maintaining the same level of intensity with your lower abdominal muscles. As you change resonances, as you change volume levels, keep these things in mind. As you bring the compression in and out, like I just demonstrated, as you go really high, as you go really low. So what we're going to do is, I'm just going to hold a G, and we're going to do a arpeggio. La, 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 la. And you can take this around to different keys, depending on what your range is comfortable with. But I'm going to start in G. La, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to focus on bearing down. La, and then I'm going to be quiet, and then I'm going to crescendo or get really loud on that note, and then back off on that note. And I'm going to let my voice go into different resonances. I might go into my head voice. I might go into mixed voice. This exercise has been incredibly helpful for me through the years because it gets me in tune with how much air I'm using, how I'm using it, and where my energy is focused. That's probably the biggest part. So many times when we try to sing dynamically, we get our neck too much involved. We start to feel tension here as we're starting to hit certain notes. And if we have that bearing down and constant flex down here, and then we're feeling merely a transference rather than an extra amount of intensity, if we learn to think about it that way. Now, there will be some bleed over into actually using more push with bigger dynamics, especially consistently over a long period of time in a song. There will be some of that, but that's actually not how we want to think about it. That's the important distinction I'm trying to make. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Do this exercise. Let me know what you think about it. Be sure again to join my free vocal course to get a lot more tips like this. And in my free course, I actually walk through things with another person. So you get to see how someone who hasn't been exposed to the material does dial in his support as well and learns all sorts of other great things about singing. Anyway, we'll see you for more.